Yeah, it took a long time. It was like thinking about it. We made it. Yeah, good. Ready to get to it? Yeah. Okay, great. All right, so this morning's class is going to really focus on come back on neck mobility. So we'll, as usual, have our sturdy chair, and we'll come to a comfortable seated position to start. All right, we're all set. All systems go. Okay, as usual, if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat, and I can see those come up. We'll start with our foundations of alignment. So starting with your sit bones in the chair, scoot yourself towards the front of the chair, wherever feels most sturdy on the surface that you're on, and then bring attention to your feet. And as best you can, feel a slight downward slope of the knee, of the thigh bone to the knee, and then the shin is perpendicular to the floor, so straight up and down. So not feet out and not feet in, but flat right on the floor. And then lift up your toes and we'll broaden and lengthen our foot. So broaden the foot across the foot from the ball of the foot to the outside edge, and then lengthen from front to back. So as much surface area of your foot is in contact with the floor. And lifting the toes, really feel lots of downward activation of your feet. And then ground just the big toe. See if you can hold the other toes up while just grounding the big toe, and broaden across the foot, and then set down the pinky toe and let the other toes sort of relax. So quite a bit of detail about the feet, making sure that the hips are even, so your feet aren't spread wide or uneven in any way. So all these details are an important part of laying the foundation. And then bring your hand to your thighs and just notice the way your shoulders and head naturally place. And bring attention to breath. We'll take 5 or 6 deep breaths, just noticing the sensation in the head, neck, and shoulder area. So paying attention to sort of how your shoulders tend to land. As we gave all those details of the feet, sometimes it can kind of have the effect of sitting us up nice and straight, but there can be a tendency of the head when not paying attention to release forward. So throughout class, we'll be working on the mobility of all of this area so that we can take a position with the head known as a head ramp. So movement of the chin towards the center of the throat and extension up through the back of the crown is the actions that you're taking. And you can see the effect of those actions is to bring the head right on top of the shoulders. So rather than this forward position with the head and neck, now the head is resting right on top of the shoulders in alignment with the rest of the spine, which makes for a lot more ease in this whole area in the back and upper shoulders and tops of the shoulders. So just noticing the difference in my posture as I take this action, and give it a try yourself. Chin towards the center of the throat, extension up through the back of the crown. The tendency as you first start to do this is to really do it, kind of more like a soldier, sit up really straight. See if you can take the action and then gently back off, and so it's somewhat natural and easeful. So holding the head ramping position, we'll bring attention to breath pattern, making a focused effort to bring your breath in and down so that the pattern of breath fills from low in the belly, then into the side ribs, and then into the chest. So just focusing all of your attention on maintaining the head ramp and setting in a breath pattern of low to high. Notice the level of tension in the shoulders or the arms, seeing if you can right away here, release any unnecessary tension that you're holding. But maintain the grounded feet and head ramping position. And then we'll bring attention to breath rhythm. So how long is your inhale? How long is the pause? How long is your exhale? How long is the pause? So this is a really great position for beginning to attend the breath and meditate. So meditation is really about bringing our attention to our felt sensation and the present moment, and staying away from the mind and thought world. So you'll shift to becoming an observer of what thoughts present, but again and again, return your attention to presence and sensation. So rather than going off with the thoughts and sort of running away with ourselves into the future or thinking about memories from the past, we stay here where we can do something. And then we'll also meditate on the qualities of our actions, the qualities of our movements and activations. So as we move into neck mobility of this really sensitive area, be sure to always stay just inside of end range. So you're going to the furthest point possible for your range of motion, and then working that range of motion just inside of the end of your capacity. So in addition, we'll be doing lots of range of motion exercises. So for example, a neck roll or some shoulder mobility work. If you begin to fatigue as you're doing this, pause and shake out any additional tension that's developing, because as we're doing this work, we're making an effort to increase mobility by softening the tissues. And if you're getting fatigued to the point that the muscles are gripping up, it could be having a reverse effect and making things more tight and more restricted. So really listening to your body throughout this class. And that's what I mean by having a meditative quality on your actions. You're not just kind of going through the motions, you're feeling the actions that you're taking deeply. So feeling your feet on the ground, your hands on your thighs, and your head on top of your shoulders to start. And we'll begin with a head tilt. So bringing the ear towards the shoulder as you exhale, and up to center as you inhale, and down to the other shoulder as you exhale, and back up as you inhale. So at first, your mobility could be fairly small. You're exploring to find where end range is, and know that over the course of each of these mobility exercises that we're choosing, your range of motion will increase through gentle warming and moving to just inside of end range. So as you'll notice, my end range is about here to start. And we'll see over the course of about a minute or so of this mobility work what happens, how it increases. Continuing to pay attention to a breath that comes in and down and fills belly to chest, and then your movement is united with your breath. So as you exhale, head tilts, and then as you inhale, it lifts up. So getting that general movement pattern in place in unison with breath, and then tending more and more to the details of that. So feeling that you're moving at the pace of your breath so that you're at end range when your exhale is finished. And then you're inhaling so that your inhale is complete when your head is back on top of your shoulders in the ramping position. So when working with joints like this, it's recommended that you could do this each joint or each movement at each joint up to 90 seconds to really see the benefit and increase range of motion slowly and gently over time. So there tends to be a bit of an internal disposition, like, well, if I'm gonna do it this, I'm gonna do it, and really pushing to get further. But for sustainability, which is what we're after, and real change, it takes a little bit of gentle, patient work every day. So we'll go a few more times side to side. And then back up in the center, pause, and take a few deep breaths in and down. So this class will have a really meditative quality. Every action that we take, we'll pause in between and feel what happened. So just noticing as air passes through the neck and throat, any differences in the sensations there. Good, and then on your next exhale, chin comes to the chest, really lengthening through the back of the crown. So you're trying to have all of this area of the upper back and neck really long. And then as you inhale, looking up and back as far as possible. Exhale, chin comes down. Inhale, chin lifts up. So if your range of motion is a little smaller, something like this, and then up, just using whatever pain-free available range of motion that you have. And little by little, we'll get more space in the back of the head. If there's any sense of lightheadedness or dizziness as you look up or down, just remove the upward motion of the head, of the neck mobility, and just come from down, back up to center. And at any time, if you're feeling like you're fatiguing from this range of motion, just pause, relax the shoulders, relax the arms, and then go back to it. Exhaling down, inhaling up, adding those meditative qualities of movement and breath deeply connected. And then in this range of motion, we'll focus on eyes. So notice your eyes as they scan up and look all the way up and back. And then notice your eyes as they scan down and look all the way down. So not only moving the head and neck, but moving the eyes in their socket up and back. Moving the forehead relaxed if possible, just letting the movement happen at the eyes. Remember to lengthen through the back of the neck, especially as you're moving through the down range of motion. Next time you look up, and exhale, come down. We'll hold in this position, relaxing the head, relaxing the tops of the shoulders, and focusing the eyes on a single point between your feet, maybe between the balls of your feet, noticing the activation of your feet. And again, broaden through the feet and feel all the activation that happens from the base of the pelvis upward. And notice in your peripheral vision, as you're looking down between the legs, the breath pattern, feeling low to high. And seeing if on your exhale, you can release a little bit of the tension through the back of the head and neck and let the head hang a little more. So in these longer holds, maybe where you find a little bit more release happening, where you can actually feel your range of motion increasing. And to get a little more space between each vertebra and along the erectors that run up and down the cervical spine and down to the whole spine. Notice if your eyes want to move about and see if you can hold them still on that single point, patiently allowing the muscles to soften and relax through this range of motion. Noticing where the mind goes. If we have a few moments to focus on the breath, simply return to the sensation of breathing and your awareness on sight. Okay, and on your next inhale, slowly bringing the head back up to a level, relaxing through the tops of the shoulders. And now we'll turn the head, so looking over your shoulder as far as possible on an inhale, exhale coming to center. Inhale, turn, So we've had a tilt, and an up and down, and then a turn of the head. So seeing if you can really feel that the shoulders stay still, and all of the movement happens side to side from the neck and head. And then adding in again the eyes. So as you're scanning the space, see if you can hold your eyes still, and then at the end of the range of motion, look your eyes as far that direction as they can go. So eyes are at the center, and then as you reach end range, eyes turn as far as possible. And then release the eyes back to the center and to the other side. So bringing more and more detail into each action that we're taking to add more and more to the meditative quality of our attention, so that it doesn't become mechanical or automatic, but is really conscious action. Continue. Still breathing in a pattern, low to high, a smooth, steady rhythm. No particular detailed pace, but the pace that's just right for you, with as little pause or jerk or noise as possible in the breath. So all the while we're mobilizing the neck, we're stabilizing through the lower body. So the feet are grounded down, the glutes are gently engaged, and the legs are gently active from the action of the foot. Good. Next time you turn to the right, also tilt. So let your head drop back and feel a turn and a tilt simultaneously to stretch this whole front side area. And you can also look gently down to feel a little bit more stretch towards the back of the neck and the side of the neck. A few deep breaths held in this position. Good. Continue holding. Okay, and tilt and lift the chin, and then turn back to center and to the other side, turning and then tilting, and then also looking down. A few deep breaths held here. So you can allow more and more release in all this side of the neck, releasing through the jaw if possible. And then lifting the head untilted, unturned, and then back to center. And release the arms to the side, shake the arms out, and gently turn the head side to side, shaking out any tension that you can. And then we'll bring attention to the pelvis. So I'll turn to the side so that you can see, check in on the pelvis. Feet are still grounded, head is ramped, but we'll focus on really aligning the pelvis and the rib cage. So the action cue that I give is to lift the front hip bones so that you're balancing on the center of your sit bones, and the low belly is activated, and then the ribs are, instead of sort of this protruding action where the ribs and the diaphragm are kind of pointing out this way, we're activating the upper transverse to bring the rib cage over the hip bones. And this then allows for many more of the muscles back here to release their grip from holding your rib cage in position here. So kind of holding you together versus stacking the pelvis and the rib cage can allow for gravity to sort of have the least amount of strain on your body. So holding that position with the pelvis, grounding the feet, ramping the head. We'll release the hands to the side. We'll just take a few really big, slow shoulder rolls. So as if you were really feeling for every little detail of what's happening through this range of motion. As you come forward, shoulders come forward, and you're squeezing up through the top range of motion, and then through the back range of motion, really making an effort to squeeze the shoulders together as you pull this scapula down the back, and then through the lower range of motion, up and around. So if you notice that your mind has gone fast and said, I already know how to do this, and kind of started to rep it out, slow down and really feel each action of your muscles as you're coming forward. The chest tightens and the back broadens. Squeeze through the upper trapezius muscles, shoulders towards the ears. Squeeze through the rhomboids in the back. Feel the scapula come together. Activate the lats and the scapula come down, and then rolling back through. The chest activates. So feel every little part of what's happening. You can keep the hands on the thighs if that allows for less weight through the shoulders. Keep moving at your steady, gentle pace. So especially in these cold winter months, still doing some heat building movements, but doing so in a really slow, gentle way, as if you're slowly warming the body up rather than kind of moving at the pace of the cold winds outside. We're going to take a slow, gentle, warming pace, one that we could sustain. Inhaling through one range of motion and exhaling through the other. So as you continue to go through the range of motion, you may notice a little less pops or a few less clicks. As with all the ranges of motion we're working with, if it feels like there's a certain part of the range of motion that's restricted, just sort of move around that gently, but stay right on the edge of that range of motion. So you're not pressing through anything that's popping or clicking harshly, but rather just finding the edge and warming the joint gently. Good. And then next time you're up with the shoulders, hold them up and go ahead and squeeze a little more through those muscles, the tops of the shoulders. And then as you move through the back range of motion, really squeeze the back. So you're really activating this whole area, the upper back and shoulders, and bringing more tension to it. And then squeeze the lats down, and then release all of that effort, shake it out. See if you can really take more tension to that area and then get some additional release. All right, head ramps, feet ground, attention to breath. We'll reverse the pattern of breath. So we have been breathing low to high. Now we'll breathe high to low. So really thinking about this area that we've been moving up the chest and the rib cage, filling and expanding with breath. We're more focused on bringing life force energy, breath into the body for these next couple of minutes, filling high to low. So as if your lungs and your diaphragm were a pump, on your inhale, fill and pull air in as much as possible, expand through the sides and through the upper back, and empty completely. So this is it for now. Big air in, big air out. If you feel any lightheadedness, back off. If it feels okay, keep going. Thinking of it as a long, deep breath and then a long, complete exhale. Seeing if you can feel breath expanding more through this area and in the back than through this area in the chest. So the chest doesn't rise and lift, but rather the lungs expand and fill. Keep going. So again, as we move into this season of the year where we're moving into late winter and early springtime, yes, it's true, we're working with the earth and water elements, and they can be heavy and dense and slow and sluggish. And so you may find that reflected in your mood. But if we bring this gentle, warming heat and fill with breath and empty with breath, as though we're just warming and oxygenating our whole system, it will start to slowly move through the inertia and the heavy denseness of this season. This breath work and this meditative attention are really supportive for seasonal depression or anxiety. Anything that brings you here to the present moment to notice the qualities of today. So thinking of this as a range of motion exercise also, we're expanding the intercostal muscles and the whole thoracic cavity. Keep going. If you need to take a break and a few lighter breaths, you can do so, if possible. Keep pumping air. Good. And let your intensity of breath sort of taper off until you find a quality of breath that's really smooth and steady and sort of normalized. Whereas before the breath was a bit loud, we're softening the breath, seeing how silent the breath can be as well as how deep. We'll continue breathing in fully, but see if you can feel the breath move from right here at the solar plexus and filling up and down simultaneously. So it's like there's this activation of the diaphragm, which there is, that pulls in air, and it kind of causes this filling action, both up and down. Good, and now we'll add in some more range of motion for the spine. Hands rest on the thighs. As you inhale, we'll squeeze the shoulders, present the chest, and lift the head up and back, squeezing the scapula back behind. Inhale. As you exhale, really focusing on this area of the upper back and shoulders and arching back as you tuck the chin. So the pelvis will move and the lower body will move, but we're really focusing on this thoracic area. Pressing and then inhaling, expanding through the chest, squeezing the back body, broadening through the front of the body. Exhaling, arching. You can use the hands on the thighs as a way of stabilizing, and then keep moving. Inhaling, broadening through the chest, squeezing, exhaling, tucking the chin. Keep moving in this way, and you're going to send your breath that fills and empties the whole torso at once. Noticing if the mind wanders, as you bring your mind and attention back to what you're doing, what pattern does the breath take? So in the moment before you change back to the way you should be breathing, can you notice how you tend to breathe habitually? Good. Continue. Really pressing through the back. So all the areas of the spine that feel like they don't want to move, can you bring some attention there and see if you can get some movement through the flexion of the spine and the extension of the spine. Good. All right, pausing after a few more repetitions. You can kind of take it smaller and smaller each time and see if you can really feel when you come to center, when the pelvis is aligned and the lumbar spine aligns and the rib cage sits on top of the hip bones and the shoulders broaden and the head ramps and is on top of your shoulders. And take a few breaths again, high to low. So fill the chest and the rib cage. And press the breath out on the exhale. So again, a little more focused on effortful breath, both on the inhale and the exhale. Keep going. After creating space and getting movement and heat into this area of the thoracic, we want to bring breath and attention, life force energy into that area. This is like working your breathing muscles. It's so important. You can practice this anytime. But there's such a difference in the capacity for breath in this position versus if we've just kind of let the head and shoulders fall forward. So no matter what your stopping point is, you'll find more space and capacity for breath if you have this action in the back body to ramp the head on top of the shoulders. A few more big breaths. And then after 2 or 3, take a big inhale and hold the inhale in. And then release. We'll do that 3 more times. Big inhale, feel fullness in the lungs. Is there any area as you're filling your lungs that you don't notice or feel sensation in? Can you add effort there? So say the bottom left of your lung isn't getting much movement and you can't feel it. Can you take your next big fill and bring attention there, really feel some movement like and connection to that area? Hold the breath in, maybe even pull in a little bit more, and then allow the exhale. Seeing if you can really connect and feel that the whole lung is filling. Good. Okay, now we'll be moving a little bit more laterally. So we'll still be kind of having a similar cat-cowing action through the upper body, but then we'll add in some lateral movement. So you'll come back and around. So the head and chest are all moving as much as you can, keeping the belly still and the low body stabilized. So you can position yourself like this, a hand here and hand here, no movement under the lower hand, big movement under the upper hand. How much can you free your thoracic spine? Your head can move a lot, or you can stabilize your head if this feels like a lot of movement. Good. Reverse directions. Seeing if you can really push out and feel sensation of stretch into the side bodies and then through the chest, opposite side body, and then through the upper back. Slow and warming. Feet stay stable. Pelvis stays balanced. And switch directions 1 more time each way. You can switch hands too. Again, can you bring your mind and attention to the spine and feel the areas that are moving and the areas that aren't? So rather than just going through the motions, really feel what's happening and feel what's not happening in certain areas. Good. Next time you're through the back range of motion and your head's back, contain through the front ribs and bring the head up to a level, hands to your thighs. Big breaths fill the lungs. Again, we'll have this breath that first moves here and then fills up and down at the same time. So it's like there's this expansion from your center happening with every inhale and this gentle contraction, a passive allowing quality to the exhale. So as we move these tissues of this area, you may find that there's more spaciousness in the breath, even a longer breath rhythm. Okay, releasing the hands down by your side, we'll focus on the shoulder range of motion. So everything we've been working with in the center of the body stays in this position. And I'm just going to use one arm to demo. So as you inhale, your broadened palm and your long arm come up to the end of range of motion. If you have to sacrifice any alignment in the spine, for example, like this, to get your arm in theory overhead, just pause here. Let that be the end of the range of motion. Exhale, come down. Inhale, spine stays stabilized. Find the end of the range of motion. Exhale, back down. Good, so continue in this way with both hands, finding the edge of range of motion. As you inhale, arms come up. and exhale down. So a lot of times we could have an injury to one shoulder or a difference in range of motion. Just allow for that. Honor how each side is different. Find the edge of range of motion for both. Inhaling up, feet stay grounded, spine stabilized, exhale down. Remembering if this feels like really simple, too simple, how much more deeply can you connect the movement and the breath, and how much of your attention can you bring to the present moment? Maybe focusing on your sense of touch and feeling the temperature of the air as your palms move through it, feeling the temperature of your feet and your face, feeling the texture of your clothes as they move across your back. The next time the arms come up, overhead, hold them up at wherever the end range is for you. Reach and keep reaching. So thinking of lifting up out of the shoulder, broaden palms, long arms, and then we'll move through the back range of motion. So lifting the chest now and opening the arms and releasing the arms down slowly as you lift the head. We'll reach the arms back and grab the back of the chair. So reaching back for your chair, we'll keep the elbows bent and really present a lot of chest as you squeeze the shoulder blades together. Good. Exhale, release that. Inhale, squeeze the shoulder blades together, broad and lengthen through the chest. There's a fascial line that moves across the chest from shoulder to shoulder. And when it gets really tight, it pulls us into this stooped position. So if we can get extension of the spine and the shoulder while not letting too much rib flare happen, we can move into lengthening into this area of the front of the chest. You can come in, out and into it, or stay in the position and hold. Continuing to use breath to add to the stretch. So imagine your front body filling with breath. Big inhale and exhale, release. We'll come into that meditative position that we started in, and we'll pay attention to all the details. Feet broadened, lengthened, sit bones even, balanced pelvis and rib cage, head ramped, shoulders relaxed at the center of the socket, so not letting the shoulders release forward, but activating the upper back and shoulders to maintain this posture. And think about feeling the breath originate right at the movement of the diaphragm and moving up and down simultaneously. And in addition to up and down, it moves out to the sides as well. So this expansion of breath from your center, and then releasing and an allowing quality to the exhale as you contract. Continue attending your breath in this way. Eyes can be held still and focused in front of you or closed. Mouth is closed, teeth slightly parted, lips touch. Tongue flat and broad on the roof of the mouth. Holding a meditative focus on your posture, maintaining all these alignments. So if you're meditating in a way that forgets your whole body, then that's really not bringing your full presence into the meditation. So holding these actions to an effortless effort, attending and feeling what's happening with the breath, and observing the mind. When your attention wanders, notice the breath first as you return back to presence. Good. We'll have about 2 more minutes of this meditative time. Full breath that expands from your center, and allowing exhale, the breath that simply leaves the body. Bringing a focused attention to your neck and noticing any shifts in the ease of holding your head in this ramping position, or any change in the tissues of your shoulders, upper back. Again, it's steady, gentle consistency that shows change. So even if you're going to physical therapy 1 time a week, what can you do to add more and more warming, gentle movements of this whole area of the neck and shoulders? It's so important to maintain our mobility through this area. And in this way, we've been working the stability of the lower body at the same time, feeling the feet grounded and the pelvis balanced and stabilized. All of this is really helpful in continuing to be able to have access to a deep and soothing breath that moves the diaphragm over what's known as your vagus nerve. This is key for stress relief and managing states of stress. Not to mention, you could think of it as training for any time that you have anything going on with your respiratory system. Then you have access to these muscles and the strength of the diaphragm to really steadily move the breath. Okay, thank you so much for practicing and giving your attention to yourself. Thanks, sis. Take care. Bye. Bye, all. Thanks. I would love to know who's here. Say hello in the comments, and I'll see you next Tuesday. Kurt and Sally, hi.